You ever hit that point where you just think, what's it all for? Like, what's the bigger point behind everything we do? Well,
Mm.
today we're going deep on that question with logotherapy,
Hmm.
an approach to life saying meaning can be found,
Hmm.
even in really tough situations.
Fascinating perspective, really. Unlike therapies focused on the past, logotherapy is future-oriented. It emphasizes personal responsibility in finding purpose, which can be pretty empowering.
We're diving into two sources today, one with techniques drawn from logotherapy, the other laying out the core principles.
Right.
And this all started with Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who went through the Holocaust.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Frankl's experiences during that time totally shaped his work. His
Yeah.
famous quote, um, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
That's at the heart of logotherapy. Suggests that even when things are beyond our control, we can still choose our attitude and find meaning.
Okay, so let's get practical. What are some logotherapy techniques that can help us uncover meaning? The first one I saw is called Dereflection.
Okay.
Seems to be about shifting your focus away from your anxieties and engaging more with the world.
Interesting thing about dereflection, it encourages you to kind of step outside yourself. For example, someone struggling with social anxiety could use this to shift their focus from their worries to genuinely connecting with others.
So instead of fixating on how they're coming across, they try to really listen to the other person or
Right.
find ways to contribute to the conversation.
Yeah,
Almost like taking the spotlight off yourself eases the pressure.
exactly. And this outward focus can apply to other areas too.
Mm.
Imagine someone feeling lost after retiring. Instead of dwelling on the loss of their career, they use dereflection to engage with new hobbies or volunteer and find purpose and connection.
Right. Like by giving to others or engaging with something bigger than ourselves, we get a sense of purpose back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about this other technique? Paradoxical intention. It sounds kind of like reverse psychology.
It does have a bit of that.
Hmm.
Paradoxical intention means intentionally trying to experience what you fear. So if someone is terrified of public speaking, they might try to make a mistake during their presentation.
Wait, wouldn't that just make them more anxious?
It seems counterintuitive, but the idea is that by confronting the fear head-on, they may realize it's not as bad as their mind's making it out to be.
Oh, I see.
The anticipation is often much worse than the actual experience.
I see what you mean. By leaning into the fear, they realize it doesn't have as much power over them as they thought, like a mental judo move.
That's a great analogy. It highlights the empowering nature of logotherapy. These techniques give you tools to take control of your thoughts and emotions.
Okay, so we've talked about dereflection
Mm-hmm.
and paradoxical intention. Now, what about attitude modification?
All right.
This one sounds a bit more like positive thinking, but maybe with a deeper twist.
It's deeper than just putting on a happy face. It's acknowledging the reality of a difficult situation, but choosing to focus on the potential for growth or connection or a meaning that might come from it.
So, for someone dealing with a chronic illness, instead of getting caught up in the negatives, they focus on the strength they've gained or the new support network they've built.
Great example.
Yeah.
It's about finding a new perspective that allows them to move forward with strength and resilience, even when facing adversity. And that reframing can be applied to many situations, dealing with job loss, navigating a tough relationship.
So it's like finding the silver lining, not in the naive way, but in a way that lets you find the strength to keep going. Now, beyond these techniques, our sources also get into the core of logotherapy, finding meaning through our values.
Yeah. And it breaks down these values into 3 categories: creative, experiential, and attitudinal.
Okay, let's unpack those categories. Starting with creative values, it seems to be about finding purpose through acts of creation.
Exactly. Think of an artist expressing themselves through painting, a writer pouring their heart into a novel, or a mentor guiding a younger generation. All expressions of creative values, ways of leaving your mark on the world.
It's about making a contribution, using your unique skills and talents to bring something new into the world. It doesn't have to be something big or artistic. Even gardening or cooking can be seen as creative expressions.
Absolutely. It's about finding activities that bring you joy and allow you to channel your energy into something positive and productive.
Okay, now what about experiential values? What makes those different?
Experiential values are all about finding meaning through immersing yourself in life's experiences. It's engaging your senses, being present in the moment, appreciating the beauty and wonder of the world around you.
So Like someone who loves traveling to new places, exploring different cultures, immersing themselves in new experiences, or someone who finds peace spending time in nature, hiking through a forest, or sitting by the ocean, taking in the sights and sounds.
Exactly. It's about opening yourself up to the richness and diversity of life and finding meaning in those sensory experiences.
I love that, like reminding ourselves to slow down, be present, and savor those moments of beauty and connection that life offers.
Exactly. It's about cultivating appreciation for the world around us and finding joy in simply experiencing it fully.
Yeah, okay, and finally we have attitudinal values.
Right.
These seem to be about how we face challenges and difficulties in life.
You could say that attitudinal values are about finding meaning through our inner strength, resilience, and ability to choose our perspective. It's about facing challenges with grace, dignity, and a focus on what we can control, even when things feel out of our hands.
So if someone experiences a major loss, like the death of a loved one, attitudinal values might guide them to focus on the love they shared,
Yeah.
the memories they created, and the legacy their loved one left behind.
Precisely. It's about finding a way to move forward with strength and purpose, honoring the past while still embracing the present, and looking ahead.
It's about finding that inner strength to persevere, even when faced with unimaginable hardship.
And recognizing that even in the darkest of times, we still have the power to choose our attitude, to find meaning, and to emerge stronger, more resilient.
That's a powerful message. It's about realizing that we're not defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to respond to them.
Exactly. And that choice, that freedom to choose our attitude and find meaning, is at the heart of logotherapy.
Okay, so we've explored these three types of values: creative, experiential, and attitudinal. But how do these actually work in our lives?
Right.
How can we use them to find meaning and direction?
That's the big question. And that's where the real work starts. It's about taking these concepts and applying them to our own unique situations, using them as a framework for making choices, setting goals, and navigating life's challenges.
So it's not just understanding these ideas, but actively making them a part of our lives.
Right. It's about making conscious choices that match our values, whether it's a career that lets us be creative, or making time for experiences that nourish our experiential values, or facing tough situations with resilience and strength, reflecting our attitudinal values.
So it's like having a map and compass,
Yeah.
but we still got to choose where we want to go
Yeah.
and the path to take. It's about taking charge of our journey and using these tools to navigate it in a way that feels real and meaningful.
I couldn't have put it better. It's about embracing choice, the freedom to create a life that reflects our values, and the potential to find meaning in every step of the way.
And that brings us to another powerful technique that emphasizes that proactive approach, future-centered thinking.
Okay.
This one seems to be all about visualizing our ideal selves in the future and using that vision to guide us now.
It's fascinating. It taps into the power of imagination and goals. Think of it as a blueprint for the life you want. You see yourself living by your values, achieving your goals, feeling the fulfillment you desire.
So let's say someone feels unfulfilled in their current job. They could use future-centered thinking to imagine themselves in a job they love 5 years from now. And from there, they can start taking small steps today to make that vision a reality.
Exactly. They might take courses, network with people in the field, or even just explore options and possibilities. It's about using that future vision as motivation and inspiration to guide their present actions.
Like setting a destination in your GPS. Even if you don't know the exact route, just having that destination in mind gives you direction and purpose. And as you start taking those small steps, you gain momentum and confidence.
Perfect analogy. Highlights how future-centered thinking can be powerful for creating change, building momentum, ultimately living a more fulfilling life.
So it seems like all these logotherapy techniques are about giving us the power to take control of our lives, our choices, our outlook. It's not about passively accepting our circumstances, but actively shaping them to match our values and our vision for the future.
That's the beauty of logotherapy. It doesn't offer easy answers or quick fixes. It challenges us to take responsibility for our own well-being, to find meaning in our experiences, and to create the life we want.
And that's a pretty empowering message.
Absolutely, and a message that connects with people from all walks of life, especially in a world that feels chaotic and uncertain.
It's amazing to think that a theory born from such darkness, such unimaginable suffering, can offer such a powerful message of hope and resilience.
It speaks to the strength of the human spirit, our desire to find meaning, and our capacity to choose hope, even in the face of adversity.
And that's really what logotherapy is all about, isn't it? Reminding us that we have the power to choose our attitude, to find meaning in all circumstances, and to create a life that is full of purpose, joy, and fulfillment.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder that even when we feel lost or uncertain, there's always a way forward, a way to find meaning and purpose, even in the most unexpected places.
It's like we've been given a new lens to see the world and our place in it.
Exactly. And one of the most beautiful things about logotherapy is that it's not one size fits all. It encourages you to find your own path to meaning, one that fits your values and your experiences.
It's about embracing the individuality of human experience, recognizing that what gives one person meaning might be different for another.
Exactly. And it's about celebrating that diversity, that richness of human experience.
So we've talked about the techniques, the values, and the message of logotherapy. But let's get even more practical. How do these principles actually play out in our everyday lives?
That's a great question, and that's where things get interesting. Let's look at some real-life examples of how these logotherapy principles can be used to navigate challenges, build relationships, and find meaning in everyday moments.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Let's start with something a lot of us know. Feeling totally swamped by work, just going through the motions, hard to find any joy in it.
Ugh, yeah, been there. So how could logotherapy help with that?
Well, remember Dereflection? It's about shifting focus away from anxieties towards something outside. So instead of that to-do list, you focus on a project you're excited about, or help a colleague who's struggling.
So finding those bits of meaning
Yeah.
and engagement in the work itself, or making them, through kindness and support.
Right. And those small shifts can have a ripple effect. You might feel lighter, but your actions can also make the work environment better for everyone.
Interesting. Like by choosing where our attention goes, we create a more positive experience for ourselves and others.
Exactly. And this applies to other things too, like relationships. Logotherapy is about aligning your actions with values. That's key for strong connections.
So if honesty and open communication are important, you make an effort to listen to your partner and express your own needs clearly, even when it's hard.
Yes. Showing up authentically, making choices that reflect what matters to you, that builds trust, creates a foundation for a deeper connection.
Because when you're living your values, there's no gap between who you are and how you act. Creates integrity with yourself and your partner.
Great way to put it. And even when there are conflicts, because no relationship's perfect, logotherapy can help us deal with those disagreements better.
So instead of getting defensive or trying to win, you focus on a solution that respects both people's needs and values.
Exactly. Approach conflict as a chance to grow and understand, not a battle. And by focusing on shared values, couples get closer, find deeper meaning, even in the tough times.
Makes sense. Shifting from me versus you to us working together. Now, logotherapy's focus on meaning can be really helpful with big life changes.
Absolutely. Career change, moving to a new city. Exciting, but scary. Future-centered thinking especially can really help here.
So instead of getting overwhelmed, you focus on what your ideal life would be in this new chapter. Imagine thriving in a new career or building a life in a new place.
Exactly. Create a clear vision of your future. Use it as a guide in the present.
Like having a North Star, even when things are rough and you're unsure of the way. And by taking those small steps toward that vision, like researching careers or exploring neighborhoods, you start feeling more confident.
Great way to put it. It's about moving from feeling lost to feeling empowered, ready to shape your future.
Now let's talk about something that's hard to face: loss and grief. How can logotherapy help during those times?
Logotherapy recognizes that suffering is part of life. It doesn't try to hide it. It's not about pretending things are okay. It's about finding meaning and purpose, even in suffering.
So for someone grieving, it's not about denying the pain, but finding a way to remember their loved one. Maybe by keeping their memory alive or focusing on the good they brought to your life.
Exactly. It could also be about finding positive ways to express your grief, like supporting a cause they cared about or helping others going through the same thing.
Transforming that pain into something meaningful, something that helps you move forward while still carrying that loss.
Exactly. And there's no one right way to grieve. Logotherapy just gives you ways to handle it that feel right for you.
It's about finding your own way, honoring the past, but living in the present and looking to the future. And sometimes that means finding support from people who understand.
Absolutely. Sharing your story can be powerful. Connecting with others, knowing you're not alone. Sometimes that connection itself can be healing, meaningful.
We've talked about how logotherapy helps with challenges, but there's this idea of the existential vacuum. It's feeling empty, lacking purpose, even when things seem okay.
Ah, yes. Frankl called it a sense of meaninglessness, feeling like your life has no direction. He thought it was common, especially today, when traditional sources of meaning, like religion or community, aren't as strong.
Like being lost at sea,
Yeah.
without a compass. And this can happen even when you're achieving goals.
Exactly. And Frankl thought this feeling is natural. It shows we're searching for something more, something that gives our lives meaning, purpose.
And that's where logotherapy comes in, offering ways to find that meaning, direction, even in a world that feels uncertain.
Exactly. It's recognizing that we might not always control our circumstances, but we control how we react. And that choice, that freedom to find meaning, that's powerful.
So if someone feels that emptiness, that existential vacuum, where do they start to find meaning? It can feel overwhelming.
First, figure out your values. What's truly important? What you want your life to be about? What brings you joy, purpose, fulfillment?
So figuring out what really matters, what gives your life direction, even if it's different from what others expect or what you thought you should be doing.
All right, it's about listening to your own inner compass, the one that guides you toward a life that feels real and meaningful. And once you know those values, you can start living by them.
So if someone values creativity, they can make time for art, even just a few minutes a day. Or if connection is important, they might spend time with loved ones or volunteer.
Exactly. Making those choices, big and small, that reflect what matters. And when you live by your values, that emptiness starts to fade. You create a life that's richer, more purposeful, more you.
So it's not about finding some big, huge purpose,
Mhm.
but about bringing those values into everyday life.
Exactly. Those little choices, reflecting your values, they add up. Create a ripple effect that goes beyond yourself.
It's fascinating how logotherapy combines this deep thinking about meaning with practical tools for finding it.
It's powerful, speaks to what it means to be human. Our need for meaning, our resilience, and our power to change ourselves and the world.
And that power to change, to choose hope, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
That's what makes logotherapy different. It's not about avoiding the hard parts of life, but finding meaning in them.
Absolutely. And Frankl believed our toughest experiences often help us grow the most, force us to dig deep and find strength.
Like they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. We wouldn't wish suffering on anyone. But logotherapy says it's often through our struggles that we discover what we're made of and appreciate life more.
So it's not about liking suffering, but seeing how it can teach us, help us find meaning in unexpected places, and come out stronger.
Exactly. And Frankl's experiences in the camps show that resilience, the human ability to find meaning, even in terrible suffering.
His story reminds us that even when all hope seems lost, we still have the power to choose our attitude, find meaning, and hold on to hope.
And that's a message that goes beyond anyone's situation. It's about what it means to be human, to keep trying, to never give up, and to find meaning even when things are hard.
We've covered a lot in this deep dive on logotherapy, techniques, values, the existential vacuum, even finding meaning in suffering. As we wrap up, what are some key things you hope people take away?
Great question. I think it comes down to a few things. First, meaning isn't given to us. We create it through our choices, actions, and attitude.
So taking charge of our lives and our search for meaning.
Yes. Second, meaning is everywhere, even in suffering. Not about pretending everything's fine, but finding hope, connection, opportunities to grow, even in dark times.
Choosing to see the world with possibility, even when it's tough.
And lastly, these logotherapy ideas aren't just theories. They're tools to help us with challenges, relationships, to create a better life.
Like a toolbox full of strategies for finding meaning, purpose, and joy in every part of our lives.
Exactly. And I hope people feel like they can use those tools, try different techniques, find what works best for them on their own path.
Because that's what logotherapy is, helping people take control, choose hope, and create a world full of meaning, purpose, and connection.
It really is a toolbox, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you don't need every tool every time. It's about finding the ones that click for you, the ones that help you deal with your challenges and find your meaning.
Yeah. It's like we've got this new way to see things, not just our own struggles, but other people's too. And that helps us be more understanding and caring, which is important for connecting with others.
Exactly. Logotherapy isn't just about you. It's about making the world a better place, more caring. When we get that everyone's trying to find their own meaning, we can be kinder, more understanding, supportive.
It's like we're all in this together, right? trying to figure out life, looking for purpose and connection. Knowing we're not alone helps.
It really does. And that shared experience, that feeling of being human together, that can be meaningful too.
One thing that stands out to me is that logotherapy isn't about finding all the answers right away. It's more like a journey. You keep learning and growing.
Yeah, I love that about it. It's not a quick fix, it's a journey. Learning, changing, always trying to live by your values.
It can be tough sometimes, but it's worth it. It's about being open to what you don't know, the uncertainty, and the chances to grow that come with being human.
It's about knowing that the search for meaning never really ends. It's a process. You got to embrace the ups and downs, the
Yeah.
changes, and how our values change as we learn more.
So wrapping up our deep dive on logotherapy, what's one thing you really hope sticks with our listeners? Some wisdom they can take with them.
For me, it's remembering we always have a choice, even when things are really tough. We can choose how we think. We can find meaning, create a life that shows what we believe in. It's about taking control, believing we can shape our own lives.
It's about knowing we're not just along for the ride. We're creating our experiences, our own meaning. That's powerful stuff.
It is. It can be what gets you going, what pushes you to change, or what guides you when times are dark.
So as we finish up today, I want you to think about what we talked about and how you can use these logotherapy ideas in your life.
Or maybe try one of the techniques, like dereflection or future-centered thinking. Maybe figure out your core values, see if you're living by them. Or just try looking at your problems in a new way, one that helps you find meaning and grow, even when things are hard.
Remember, even little steps make a difference. They can change your life and the world around you.
So enjoy the journey. Find what gives you meaning. And remember, you can create a life full of purpose, joy, and connection.
That's it for our deep dive on logotherapy. We'll be back next week with another fascinating topic. Until then, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep creating the life you want to live.